Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. Now today we are going to be covering the four most common things you guys ask us about all the DIY stuff we have done around our home. Now we're basically going to be covering how we netted our garden so these guys can hang out outside with us every day, how we build our aviaries. I think we've done 3 now, semi-successfully. How to build the flight perches we do, that these guys take off and land on when we're in the park and at Parrot playdates. And also the best toys we have made and what we actually think the best toys are for these birds. So, without further ado, let's start with number 1. Now, netting your garden has so many benefits, it is ridiculous. I mean, firstly, let alone the sun. How important is the sun? Not just for birds, but for us as well. I mean, you guys have been stuck in lockdown, and if you didn't have a backyard, you're probably suffering pretty hard. So don't do that to your bird forever. Now, obviously, there is harnesses where people can take their birds out on walks with, or if you do want to put in a bit of effort, you can free fly, but netting our garden has probably been the best thing we have done. We desensitized both of our guys to the outdoors by doing that. We taught them recall outside by doing that, and we get to hang out every summer in the garden with them. It's just amazing. Now there's 2 ways to basically do this. What we did was the cheaper route. We went on eBay for literally just standard garden netting, like the stuff that people who grow veg use to cover their garden so birds can't get in. We used it so birds can't get out. Now we ordered, I think, maybe 6 by 6 meters, something like that, and a staple gun, a roll of staples, and a couple of screws. Basically started off by staple gunning all around the entire fence. Now when we got to the base of the house, that is concrete, so we had to drill a couple of holes in. So you'll need a drill with a hammer function on it as well. That way you can drill into the concrete and then put a couple of screws or hooks in to add it on that end. Now, once your net is flat, it's probably not going to be too high. So what we did then, threw out a bunch of little weights from the very top floor of our house, and on those weights were fishing line that were tied to them. Now this fishing line needs to be pretty strong. I'm gonna say maybe like stuff that can hold like a 15 or 18 kilo fish, tied on evenly to your netting. I think we got about 6 lines on ours at the moment, and then pull it all the way up, and you'll see this whole thing just raise, tied on to wherever you launched it to originally, and you are sorted. Now, not everyone has a garden that basically has a fence that goes all the way around. The paws, claws, and feathers guys, they had quite a low garden fence, so they went out and bought some huge big posts, stuck them on each corner just to give the net a bit more height, and then obviously pulled it up from their 3rd floor. If you don't have a 2nd or 3rd floor, jump on the roof very, very safely, pull it up, just to give it that little bit of height as well. When you're stapling as well, make sure those staples are quite close. The last thing you want is a bird to try and get their way through them. Now, we would never leave our birds outside unattended in this net. I mean, it's lasted us like 2 years, which is pretty crazy, and there's only 2 tiny holes like that big in it, and they have no real interest in showing it. So we are super lucky in that sense. They just kind of like to hang out on it like monkeys, climbing all over it. It's crazy, it's great, they love it. But do not think of this as like a way where you can just leave your birds outside all day in the summer, because if they do chew holes through it and then they do fly away, do not come back to us, we have told you. Second option, if you want to do something a little bit better. Now, you guys probably have seen in previous videos our dear friend Monica's garden. It is absolutely epic. What she did was another level to what we basically did. She got stainless steel wire mesh. Now, some really, really fine stuff. She ran a bunch of steel ropes from the top of her house all the way to the back. She had posts that did come up as well to give it a bit of height, and she basically covered her entire garden in stainless steel wire mesh. Now this is definitely a more permanent solution. I don't know how macaws would last out there because the mesh is quite thin. She's got Amazons, so they're totally fine, and she can just let them have fun out there all summer long. It's definitely a better investment. I would 100% recommend it over what we did, but then again, what we did cost us about £28, which she did cost something like £700. So do the conversion in your country and see what is the best for you. Now this is going to lead into the next section, aviaries. Now that's basically if you want to take outdoor kind of netting to another level. You could aviary out your entire garden. It is going to be stupidly expensive, or you could have a small one in a corner. Depends on your garden, your situation as well. So we have either built or modified 3 aviaries for now. Now the first one was an absolute disaster. We basically just built it out of 2x4, just wood. Our first meshing we had on it was 16 gauge galvanized mesh, which is extremely thin when we very first got Mikey, and he bit a hole through it, so avoid that. We ended up upgrading to 12 gauge galvanized mesh with 50 by 50 millimeter holes in it. Now, that's the gauge and the hole size right, but the fact it was galvanized is not right. Now, just a quick point here. Now, galvanized mesh contains zinc. If birds accidentally swallow some of that zinc from climbing around the aviary using their beaks, they could get poisoned from it and end up at the vets and be very, very sick. So stay away from galvanized mesh if you are building either small aviaries where they kind of have to climb around. If you have a huge, big, massive thing that's like 20 meters by 20 meters, they're probably not going to be climbing around on the mesh because they'll have more fun flying around it and playing on the branches and the trees and stuff like that. There's a couple of options to make galvanized mesh safe. Now I'm going to keep this super brief. Basically, you could spray your entire aviary down with vinegar. Once you've done that, scrub the whole thing with a steel wire brush. Once you've done that, wash it all down with hot soapy water. Now, depending on how big your aviary is, this is going to take a very long time to do. And it's not going to be fun at all. Trust me, I'll get into that shortly. Your second option is to weather it. Leave it outside for a very long time. Now, these two things we have been told work. Do not quote us on this though, we aren't like aviary experts or anything. Stainless steel is always going to be your best option, or powder coated, which is what we're going to chat about now. So, the aviary they are currently in. Now we got these panels because they were such a steal, but they did not fit in our room. It was not the size we wanted, they were way too high, so we had to literally cut the whole thing up and rebuild it. So we got an angle grinder, we sliced up sides of the panels, we cut off tops of the panels, we took off the meshing, and then we had to reattach all the frames. Now this isn't easy at all, it was a lot of work, but we kind of put it together and now it kind of works. It's not perfect by any means. There's measurements that aren't right, there's little holes, some of the corners don't add up or anything like that. Like I said, we aren't pros at this at all, but it worked really well. Thirdly, the one we recently built for when we're going to be bird sitting. Now, we haven't actually put a bird in this, but this is probably the best way to explain to you exactly how you can kind of do stuff. So we ordered a bunch of aluminium box section and basically built the frames out of that with those plastic corner connector things. I'm not sure exactly what they are called, but they work a treat and you don't need to weld, which is great. Make sure you measure everything. Also chat to a builder to double check your measurements as well from every single cut you are doing, because there is stuff you won't think about, where the door is going to go, stuff like that. Our good friend Caleb helped us out with all the measurements. He drew us a great diagram. Thank you for that, buddy. Appreciate it. Now, we did go with galvanized mesh for this as well, but what we did, like I mentioned earlier, laid it down on the ground on a tarpaulin, covered the whole thing in vinegar, went through with a steel wire brush, both sides for 5 different sheets. It took hours and hours and it was a lot of work and it wasn't fun. And if I did it again, I would actually pay someone to build that aviary, because paying to get it done would have cost me £450. I paid £300 just for supplies and spent days doing it. So you kind of have to work out how much your time is worth as well. To attach the mesh to the aviary, we basically took a drill, took a screw, took a washer, straight in, and it holds. There is way better ways of doing this. And if anyone's watching this who has built aviaries before, honestly, share your ideas in the comments. We'd love to hear them. Now, if you're in certain countries and there's wildlife like snakes or rats that could kill your birds, definitely get smaller mesh. You know, like holes that are like 4 or 5 centimeters wide. That way, obviously, nothing can get into the aviary and kill your birds, because that would be terrible. Alrighty, number 3, let's get on to perches. Now, the amount of people that want to know where we get our flight perches or how we build them is crazy. So, these are pretty simple. All you have to do, again, get on eBay, get on Amazon. What you want to order, and listen up carefully, is a lightweight T-bar lighting stand. Do not go for anything heavy duty, because it'll just be way too much. Once that does arrive, open the box, take it out. There'll be a little T-bar. Now you want to throw away all the accessories, take that T-bar and you want to cut it right down. Why? It's unnecessary steel that is just hanging out, and it's a whole lot tidier when it is shorter. So you want to take that T, you want to get a hacksaw, or you can use an angle grinder, whatever you have handy, and basically cut it down to maybe like 10-15 centimeters. Then you want to drill 2 holes in the bottom. That's where your perch is going to screw onto, from underneath, not on top, because you don't want your birds kind of chewing the tops of the screws and stuff like that, just in case they aren't safe metals. Now here's the fun part, finding that bird safe wood. Now you need to go to a park or somewhere with trees. We're in parks with trees every single day because we free fly these guys 6 or 7 days a week. Take your saw with you as well, don't look too dodgy, but don't go just cutting trees down in the park, because you'll probably get arrested. But if you do find a branch that has fallen on the ground, free game to all. Now this branch is probably going to be bigger than what you want as a perch, and that's where the saw does come in handy, so you don't have to take, you know, like half a tree into your car or anything like that. But how do you know if it is bird safe wood? There is an app, a great app we use called Picture This. What this app does, you take a photo of a tree, the app is going to tell you exactly what kind of tree that is. Then you jump on the good old Google, type in bird safe wood. Definitely check out a couple of sites though, just in case, you know, some are wrong, you want a couple of opinions. And then Google if that tree is safe for your bird. If it is, great, amazing, you can take that wood home, screw it straight on top. If it's not safe, find another tree. If you're not sure if the branch on the ground is from that tree, don't risk it. Your birds could get poisoned. There's this really, really beautiful white birch tree in the park we fly in at the moment, and I really want a white birch perch, and I've been, you know, playing in the tree recently, hoping one of the branches accidentally breaks, but it seems pretty strong, so I guess I'll just wait. But that is how you build a perch, and these things are so sturdy. We've had huge green wings land on them in the wind. They do not budge, they don't fall over, the legs extend, they're super sturdy, highly recommended to anyone out there. And finally, let's chat about some toys. Now there's so many toy options that you guys should actually consider. Now, what I'm gonna cover today is mostly probably for larger parrots, as I don't own smaller birds, not necessarily macaws, but if you are doing a DIY dealio while you're in the park, grab a couple more bits of wood. Now when you come home, make sure you wash it. What we also do is just get some really aggressive sandpaper and just give it a quick once over just to get anything gross off it. Basically, big post in the middle. Drill a couple of holes, one at the top, one in the middle, one at the bottom. Then slice up a bunch of wood into loads of different shapes and sizes. Really, really thin ones they can break easy, really big fat ones, round ones, whatever. Then you want to drill holes through each individual one of those things. Now you need to get yourself some stainless steel wire. Do make sure it is stainless steel so it is bird safe. Put it through each of the holes in your big bit of wood and then thread it through all the little bits of wood, and you have this big ginormous bird toy, which is probably going to last a little while and your birds are going to love it. Also, if you say your birds aren't playing with their toys and they've been in the aviary for a month and they don't touch it, honestly, just take it out. It's a waste of space being in there. Your bird doesn't want the toy, it doesn't want to play with the toy, it's just literally taking up room. Replace it. Our next favorite to build are foraging toys. Now, we aren't amazing at foraging toys. We actually stole this idea off Caleb as well. Big chunky piece of wood. Take quite a large drill bit and just drill loads of holes, some quite deep, some going up, some going straight, some going diagonally down, and shove their favorite treats in there. Now, when it comes to treats, it depends on how you are with your birds. With us, their favorite treats are almonds, pine nuts, cashew nuts. We probably wouldn't give them in a foraging treat just for the fact we reserve them for training. Trick training, recall training, flight training. These are their big rewards once they are doing well that do come from us. Foraging treats are more the kind of food which they don't get every day. You know, that kind of seed mix, the banana chips, the dried fruit, stuff like that. I think a lot of people actually feed as a normal diet, which isn't the best, but our day-to-day diet is strictly just fresh fruit and vegetables, and then they get all the other stuff, the nuts, the seeds, in either foraging treats or when they are training. Now, the lovely people at Northern Parrots just sent us a bunch of new toys to go along with these ones we have made, so thank you guys so much. And I'm not even gonna lie, their foraging toys are some of the best we have ever used. These two in particular. Now, this barrel right here, literally the best thing we have bought. Birds love to work for food. In the wild, no one is going to go up and hand them some food. They have to really dig for them. They have to work for them. They might have to break some trees down and break some branches down to really get that favorite nut. So with the Busy Barrel toy, you have to unscrew these wing nuts. You can put whatever you want in it. We usually put walnuts. I know I just said we save nuts for training, but this is a very hard toy to open, so they can work for this one. So put a couple of walnuts in this thing. Now close it up, and close it up very, very tight. I mean, these birds are very strong, so they can open it. Mikey and Mia will literally grab an end each and work their butts off for a good maybe 15-20 minutes, and once they do get that reward, they are very, very happy. So I highly, highly recommend that Busy Barrel toy. And finally, the one foraging toy we have been using for so long is the foraging wheel, which we also get from Northern Parrots. Now this thing here is amazing. The way it's advertised, I think, isn't the greatest because they basically fill up this entire wheel with nuts. I mean, birds probably couldn't even eat all of that food in the first place, let alone that amount of nuts. But what we do, because we love to make stuff interesting for them, we basically put the tiniest amounts of stuff in each wheel, maybe couple of sunflower seeds, you know, dried apricot, a quarter of a banana chip, kind of chopped up, maybe some dates, maybe some raisins, anything like that. Then we will literally jam pack it with cardboard. So much, like we'll just rip up cardboard, roll it up, slam it in there. So these bits now have to turn the wheel to each different hole to get all of that cardboard out. It keeps them busy for so long. And these here are great ideas, so even if when you are at work, it is gonna keep them super busy. If you guys have any other cool foraging tips, honestly, leave them down in the comments. Hopefully I didn't talk too fast in this video. I really wanted to get as much information in as possible and not let this video run too long. This is another one which you're probably not gonna see a lot on this channel. You know, we usually like to keep the adventures going day by day with the vlogs and the fun, but you guys wouldn't stop asking these 4 questions. So we hope this did answer a lot of your questions out there. If it helped, great, let us know. If it didn't, well, we apologize. Pop questions down below. We'll do our best to answer them. And we will see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.